Good afternoon, everybody. We're calling to order the Cape Cod Commission meeting of Thursday, January 6, 2011. And could we have the roll call, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Barnstable, Royden Richardson.
Present.
Bourne, Michael Blanton. I am present. Brewster, Elizabeth Taylor.
Present.
Chatham, Lynn Pleffner.
Present.
Dennis, Richard Roy. Eastham, Joy Brookshire. Falmouth, Mario Di Gregorio. Harwich, Robert Bradley.
Here.
Mashpee, Ernest Virgilio.
Present.
Orleans, Peter Munger.
Present.
Provincetown, Austin Knight.
Present.
Sandwich, Joanne O'Keefe. Truro, Peter Graham.
Here.
Wellfleet, Roger Putnam.
Here.
Yarmouth, John McCormick Jr.
Here.
County Commissioner, Mary Pat Flynn. Minority Representative, John Harris.
Here.
Native American Representative, Mark Harding. Governor's appointee, Herb Olson.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, it looks like we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Now this is the moment for public comment. Comments on anything other than what's on the agenda. Seeing none, we'll move on to the Executive Director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to thank those members of the commission that showed up at the holiday party that we had several weeks back now. It was well attended, and I believe everybody had a good time. Also want to report that we met with the county commissioners earlier this week on the budget as the...
Is your light on?
Yeah, it is. I'll get close, though. As the budget season is underway, so we had a good meeting, budget meeting with the county commissioners based on the budget that the executive committee approved and sent forward. And so that will move on to the Assembly of Delegates now. And just an IBM update, the Smart Cape workshop that IBM is sponsoring with us will happen the end of this month, January 26th and 27th. And so we should have a report back after that. IBM has also put an additional $50 million into their Smart Cities program globally. And last week, we applied for an additional $400,000 in technical assistance that should help with the Smart Cape Phase 2. Additionally, as it relates to wind, the Ocean DCPC process continues, and the technical report is ready in draft form, so that will be mailed out to members of the policy committee and the stakeholder committees next week. So we anticipate that the policy committee will be reconvening in early February, and that there will be 3 or 4 meetings of the policy committee to discuss the technical report. The land-based wind standards that were in front of the Assembly, that the Assembly sent back, we've spent a great deal of time combing through the Assembly's comments and trying to respond to that in a timely fashion, as we promised that we would. A joint meeting of the Planning and Regulatory Committees took place last week to take a look at some initial tweaking, expansion, and clarification of the standards. And we got feedback from the Joint Committee. We've processed that into a draft that we'll be mailing out this afternoon for a subsequent meeting of the Joint Committee on Monday, with the hope that we'll have some revised standards in front of you in 2 weeks, with the ultimate hope of being able to respond to the Assembly in a February timeframe. So it's been a fairly busy beginning to the year, and we'll have more in 2 weeks. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Director. The minutes of the December 2nd meeting need to be approved. If somebody would be willing to move that they be approved as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that they be approved as presented. Does anybody have any questions or corrections? All in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Abstentions are noted. Thank you. All right. Now, the next thing that we're going to go to is the leading up to the public hearing on the Simpkins residences final hearing. And I will ask Ernest Vigilio to set the minutes of the subcommittee meeting before the committee for their adoption.
Mr. Chairman, the subcommittee has one set of minutes to approve from 12/20/10. Subcommittee members who can vote on these minutes are Virgilio, Blanton, and Knight. And I ask for corrections to the 12/20/10 draft subcommittee meeting. Is there any? I'm going to ask for a motion on the 12/20/10 subcommittee meeting.
So moved. Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Pass. And back to you, Mr. Richardson.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Vigilio. I'm going to ask my friend here to read Peter to read the notice.
Hearing notice, Cape Cod Commission, Simpkins Residences, January 6, 2011. The Cape Cod Commission will conduct a public hearing on Thursday, January 6, 2011 at 3 p.m. in the 1st District Courthouse, Assembly of Delegates, Chamber, Route 6A, Barnstable, Mass. The following development of regional impact has been referred to the Cape Cod Commission under Section 13A and submitted under Section 23 of the Cape Cod Commission Act, C 716 of the Acts of 1989 as amended in Section 3, 7, and 9 of the DRI enabling regulations. This development will be considered for DRI approval and a DRI hardship exemption as a project of community benefit. The purpose of the final hearing is to allow for proposed corrections to and comments on factual information contained in the draft written decision. This note is being published as required by Section 5 of the Cape Cod Commission Act. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much.
Oh, do I need to read that? Oh. Do I read this section? Project name, Simpkin Residence. Project applicant, Stratford Capital. Project location, 134 Old Main Street, South Yarmouth, Mass. Project description, renovation and addition to an existing 1930 school building redevelopment project as proposed by the applicant will consist of 65 units and 81,200 square feet of housing. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Andrea Adams of the Commission staff is invited to present the draft decision.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, my name is Andrea Adams. I'm the Cape Cod Commission Senior Regulatory Planner. I have a short PowerPoint, and with the assistance of some renderings provided by the applicant, I'd like to go over the project with you and the draft decision. First, as Mr. Graham noted, it's an existing 41,000 square foot technology. Thank you. It's an existing 41,834 square foot 1930s school building. It's a 41-acre parcel at 134 Old Main Street, South Yarmouth, and as I said, this rendering here shows the main building in red brick and the wings and the rest of the new addition coming out the back. What I'm holding in my hands is a site plan. Showing the existing conditions and the proposed conditions. As you can see, the main addition is going to be behind the existing school building, and the site other than the existing school building is currently vacant, with the ball fields up toward me And in this orientation down here on this color rendering, excuse me, this is Old Main Street, and the ball fields are up by my shoulder. I'm going to put these down. Probably put this one in the front, and you can refer to it. Again, it's a 3-story brick building with 2 wood story frames on each end. The town owns the site. It's important to note it's on the National Register of Historic Structures. The project includes the complete interior renovation, again, of the red brick building. They're going to add a 36,000 square foot, 14,000 square foot footprint addition out the back. It results in a total of 81,200 square feet, 65 senior rental apartments, a new septic system, site drainage, parking, and landscaping. And also, as one of the benefits, it creates parking for the ball fields. Next, please. I want to briefly cover the Commission's jurisdiction. The project is being heard for a development of regional impact. We received the referral from the town in June of last year. It is a DRI according to Section 3G of our enabling regulations as amended, and that threshold is shown below. Any development that creates 30 or more residential dwelling units, that's capitalized because it is a defined term, and apartments are a residential dwelling unit. It creates 65 for persons 55 and older. Next, please. In terms of the procedural overview, they filed a Development of Regional Impact exemption, a Hardship exemption, and a Project of Community Benefit application combined in August. They filed more materials between September and December of last year. Hearing officers opened procedural hearings to allow for our timeframes. The application was deemed complete in November. The subcommittee conducted a site visit and public hearing in mid-November. Hearing officer closed the DRI hearing on the 23rd of November. Subcommittee had a couple of subcommittee meetings to deliberate on the project in December and voted on the 20th to recommend commission approval of the project with conditions. Next, please. Section 7 of the enabling regulations also deals with the standards for review and approval of a development of regional impact. It's also reviewed under Section 13 of the Commission Act. The standards for approval are listed there. Consistency with the Act, the RPP, the LCP, local zoning, development bylaws, and applicable districts of planning concern. Also, projects have to have the benefits outweigh their probable detriments. As I noted, this is also a hardship exemption, so there's a separate section in the enabling regulations in the Act that deal with that. That's Section 9 of the regulations and 23 of the Act. They filed for a hardship exemption and a special class of hardship exemption called a Project of Community Benefit. Specifically, that allows the Commission, if it wishes to grant relief from compliance with the regional policy plan and minimum performance standards. However, 2 specific findings must be made, and they're shown there. A literal enforcement of the provisions of the Act would involve a substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, and that desirable relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent or purpose of the Act. Just pay attention to that language because you're going to see it again in my presentation. Again, as I noted, they filed for a Project of Community Benefit, which is a type of hardship exemption that's covered by that subsection of our enabling regulations. And in order to do that, the subcommittee or commission has to consider these specific items in determining whether a project qualifies. The project's need within and benefit to the community, the difficulty full compliance with the minimum performance standards would entail, whether the project is a project of community benefits according to the enabling regulations definition, the extent to which full compliance with the standard would constitute a hardship by diminishing the community benefit or benefits, whether the Commission can grant the minimum relief necessary to address the hardship, and again, whether the relief does not nullify or substantially derogate from the intent or purpose of the Act, or result in a substantial detriment to the public good. And again, you're going to see that language again. Finally, 2 more things the Commission has to consider is whether a Project of Community Benefit provides one or more of the benefits listed in those 2 sections of the Act. In this particular case, there are several listed in the Act, but in this particular case, the subcommittee found this particular project qualifies as a project of community benefit and provides these specific benefits under these two sections of the Act: the development of an adequate supply of fair and affordable housing, and the preservation of historical, cultural, archaeological, architectural, and recreational values. In terms of the analysis the subcommittee went through, the project was reviewed under the current regional policy plan, or I should say the one effective in June, not the most latest amendments that are proposed. Coastal resources section was not found to apply, but it was analyzed for compliance with the other sections listed here. I'll briefly go over the findings that are memorialized in the decision. The first is minimum performance standard land use 1 requires consistency with the category and characteristics of land use as identified on the regional land use vision map. Yarmouth's map has been incorporated into the regional one, so on that part of the map, the area is designated as resource protection area, and that would make sense since this is a National Register structure. However, the characteristics of a resource protection area is growth is not desired due to sensitive resources. But again, the site is part of a National Register district. The building is on the register. The subcommittee found that it was not consistent with land use 1, and this is outlined in that finding, and the rest of the land use section was found not to apply. In economic development, the minimum performance standard is number 1, which says that development is to be located in economic centers, which is a type of land use on the land use region map. Again, as noted in the previous slide, it's actually in resource protection area, so it's not strictly consistent with that minimum performance standard. However, as redevelopment, the regional policy plan provides that it can meet 2 waiver criteria under minimum performance standard ED 13, and it actually does have a municipal endorsement through a resolution of the selectmen, and it's obviously preserving a National Register structure, so it meets those 2 waiver criteria, and again, the rest was found not to apply. In terms of water resources, this is a pretty extensive section of the draft decision, but I just wanted to highlight a few things here that seem salient. In terms of nitrogen loading, it is in a nitrogen-sensitive area, but based on the use of an Amphitrite advanced nitrogen removal septic system, it's going to reduce the nitrogen loading concentration below the former school use. It also improves existing stormwater drainage. And they are going to use, in addition to upgrading the stormwater drainage, they're going to use some permeable pavers in part of the parking lot close to the ball fields. And there are conditions in the decision, water resources conditions 3 through 5, that ensure that the project will meet regional policy plan standards. These include things like submission of final stormwater calculations and stormwater management plans, and most importantly, an engineer certification post-construction that the stormwater system was installed as designed and is functioning. On wetlands, wildlife, plant habitat, open space, and recreation, it's not in a significant natural resources area. There are no wetlands, vernal pools, or rare species on the site. In terms of the findings that you see there, there are no natural resources inventory was required because the site's already largely developed. There's no open space set aside, again, because we want to incentivize redevelopment. And finally, given what they had to work with in terms of the restrictions on the site and respecting the significant historic structure, they clustered development as much as possible and are minimizing clearing so it meets the standards in the regional policy plan that deal with these issues, and the rest of the section was not found to apply. On transportation, the first part of the regional policy plan that is looked at is congestion and trip reduction. It's not located in an economic center as designated on the regional land use vision map, and the site's been vacant for more than 3 years, so it's not automatically eligible for a credit from the prior school use as articulated already in minimum performance standard 0.2. This standard, and because it wasn't eligible for a credit, and other minimum performance standards would have have required a traffic study and mitigation. The estimated mitigation cost, as you can see, is $500,000. The subcommittee found, however, that a financial hardship exists, and that's articulated in Transportation Findings 7, and found that relief could be granted. And as you can see, these particular points that are listed under the relief track the requirements for findings in terms of a hardship exemption and a project of community benefit. There was a financial hardship. Relief can be granted without detriment to the public good. The relief granted, or the relief from the $500,000 of mitigation relates directly to the hardship. The benefit to the community would have been impacted by reducing affordable housing and the preservation of those other values, and the $500,000 in mitigation would reduce those benefits by making the project potentially infeasible. Another issue that we look at, though, on all DRIs is safety. In this case, we were looking at safety of the greater transportation system and safety at the driveway in terms of a level of service at the driveway. In terms of safety on the greater roadway network, there was no impacts, so it complies through finding 6 with minimum performance standard transportation 1.1. The level of service analysis is required at the driveway through minimum performance standard 3.1. However, the focus for this particular minimum performance standard is on large-scale developments like supermarkets that generate a lot of traffic. The subcommittee found that it's not a large-scale development within the meaning of the way it's been applied in the past, and because of the cost of the level of service analysis and the fact that there were no concerns, even so, looking at how much traffic would be generated by the project, there really wasn't a concern. They found that they could grant relief from the need to do a level of service analysis, again, because the enforcement of requiring it would involve a financial hardship. The relief could be granted without substantial detriment. It related to the hardship in question, and it affected the project's potential benefits to the community as a POCB, and the cost of compliance would have made it infeasible or difficult. In terms of waste management, minimum performance standard 1.5 looks at hazardous waste. It is an interior gut renovation of the existing building, so they will be, and the building is 1930s vintage, so there is some potential for asbestos-containing material and other materials in the building that would be of concern. Condition Waste Management 1 ensures compliance with that. Condition Waste Management 3 also will help the residents take advantage of some programs in the town that as residents they would have to manage their hazardous waste properly, like household hazardous waste days and other things at the transfer station. The other conditions are required to follow the construction and demolition debris and solid waste management both during construction and after construction, and those conditions, waste management condition 2, are in the decision to ensure that it complies both, again, during construction, proper management of the demo debris, and that they provide a waste management service with recycling to the residents. Waste management minimum performance standard 2.4 relates to large-scale food composting. Since this is a residence, it was found that that minimum performance standard didn't apply. On energy, it was found that the minimum performance standards 1.2, 1.3, and 1.5 did not apply. They requested relief from the redevelopment energy audit. In terms of the fact that the school has been vacant so long, there was no data to base it on in terms of the prior use. And again, it will have a complete renovation to essentially the studs. So the subcommittee found that relief could be granted from having to do an energy audit, again, for these reasons. In terms of energy tightness of new construction and the redevelopment, this is really interesting. the project as proposed will meet this particular minimum performance standard 1.4, except for the existing structure. So all of the new construction, the addition out the back, is going to be able to comply with this particular minimum performance standard in terms of energy efficiency. So really, the subcommittee found that they only needed to grant relief for the existing school building only from this particular subpart of minimum performance standard E14. It has several subparts. So they found that that was acceptable. And again, because it's a project of community benefit, it's structured in this way to make these findings. There also is a condition in the decision that ensures the new construction and the renovation of the existing building will comply with the applicable energy minimum performance standards. In terms of affordable housing, again, it creates 65 100% affordable rental units, which is more than required by the regional policy plan. Regional policy plan would have required 7 units. Here you've got 65. And there are conditions to ensure compliance with various standards in the affordable housing section, and those are listed here. The units will be affordable, I think, at 80% or less of median income. They meet the minimum unit sizes. They will provide affordable rents. They will have a monitoring plan to monitor permanent affordability, and that the units are marketed in a way that's non-discriminatory, and they are providing visitable units, which means they have a low threshold so that people who are disabled and in wheelchairs can visit each other or visit friends who live there. And the rest of the minimum performance standards in this section were found not to apply. In terms of one other minimum performance standard in affordable housing, AH 110 requires Energy Star. Again, the new construction can meet that requirement. It's just the existing old building, because it's going to be completely gutted inside, cannot. So the subcommittee found it appropriate to grant relief for the project from just that one small piece of that minimum performance standard. Again, for these reasons, because it's a project of community benefit. The last section to look at was community character. Again, it's a preservation of an important historic building on the register, so it's consistent with the Heritage Preservation MPS. The building design and the way the new wing and addition is placed to respect the height and bulk of the buildings on Old Main Street was found consistent with building design. They are doing landscaping that is also consistent with low-impact design stormwater, so it's consistent with landscape design. And there are conditions to ensure compliance so that the project that you approve is one that meets the minimum performance standards. In conclusion, next please, the criteria for approval for a hardship exemption and project of community benefit, the subcommittee found that the project qualifies as a project of community benefit. It has those 2 community benefits of affordable housing provision and protection of significant historic, cultural, and architectural values. There were specific difficulties that were determined in compliance with certain minimum performance standards. The subcommittee found that relief could be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent or purpose of the Act. A literal enforcement, however, of provisions of the Act would involve the substantial hardship. Compliance with those particular minimum performance standards, there really are only 3 and parts of 2 others were problematic. So relief was granted, and the project is consistent with the Act and the regional policy plan with certain relief granted through the placement of conditions on the project. Last slide. The last, in terms of approval criteria, relates to the local zoning, local bylaws, consistency with the local comprehensive plan, and that's listed in those findings. It's not in a district of critical planning concern. There is testimony in the record that it is consistent with Yarmouth's local comprehensive plan. It will be consistent based on testimony, again, from the town planner, with development bylaws upon Zoning Board of Appeals action, and there are several probable benefits that outweigh its probable detriments. One is that it is the redevelopment and reuse of an existing site, and BDP is just best development practice. So it meets land use best development practice 1.3. It meets the intent of land use best development practice 1.4. They provided the phase 1 environmental assessment. They're actually also going to pull out an old on-site tank from the school, so that's something that they found when they did that assessment. It is creating affordable rentals, which is the highest priority housing type in the county, and it creates a significant amount of affordable and visitable units over and above what would be required when looking at the regional policy plan. The subcommittee also found that it preserves a significant historic structure and in fact returns that building to the town's tax rolls. So, in conclusion, the subcommittee recommended the full commission vote to approve the Simpkins School redevelopment as a hardship exemption project of community benefit. That's all I have. You may want to hear from the applicant and members of the audience in terms of their comments, but ultimately, after all discussion has been completed, you need to vote to close the hearing in the record and vote to, or discuss and make a decision on the draft written decision. And we have other
Thank you very
commission
much,
staff to answer questions.
Yes. Does anybody have any questions of Andrea from the commission at this point? All right. Thank you very much. And, excuse me. We got to get you a bell.
I think so. Andrea? I just had a question. Are these at 60% or 80% affordable?
60.
Okay, all right.
In accordance with DHCD standards.
Okay, I just want to make sure. And did DHCD, according to their LIP guidelines, are they only accepting 40 of these, or are they accepting 65 of these?
They will.
If you're going to testify, you need to come on the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you. Would you like me?
Yes.
Yeah, just identify yourself.
I'm sorry?
Just identify yourself.
Oh, sure, of course. Hello, I'm Rich Hayden from Stratford Capital Group. I'm a partner with that firm. In answer to the question, yes, it will be 100% affordable, and all 65 units will be at or below 60% of area median income.
Is DHCD accepting them?
Yes.
Because I know that's only half the battle to build them.
Yeah, well, we
With-
actually, maybe it would be a good time for me to do a little bit of a presentation. Would that be acceptable? Because I can discuss that in
However you have to do, as long as I get my answers. on time.
absolutely correct. Why don't you like do that?
The applicant is now making a presentation.
Okay, I'll be brief. Our firm, one of the core businesses of our firm is, in fact, the response to RFPs that are issued by municipalities in Massachusetts for the redevelopment of historic schools. It's a core part of our business that we've done many. We are affordable housing experts, if you will. It's a core part of our business, developing and investing in affordable housing that meet affordable housing tax credit standards. We're also historic rehabilitation experts, having done many schools in Massachusetts and converted them to housing, obviously with the help of third parties, architects, engineers, historic consultants, and others. Again, we're developers, investors, syndicators, and asset managers of this type of product. Some examples of properties that we've done are the Brown School in Peabody, Massachusetts, which again was, and this is going to answer your question, that was 61 units, 100% affordable at 60% or below of area median income. Again, we enjoy a very strong working relationship with DHCD, Kate Racer, and everybody involved in that program. They're very familiar with our work, so that's why I'm confident of the acceptance of 100% affordable. Fulton School Residences in Weymouth, Mass. Again, historic rehabilitation of a school plus new construction, 63 units, all of which 100% were affordable at or below 60% of area median income. School Street Residences, which we just completed in Athol, Mass. That is 50 units in Athol. Again, historic renovation of a school into 50 units, all of which were at or below 60% of area median income. And others that we're working on currently, which we haven't started construction on, are McKelwain in Bridgewater and another property, Park Place Residences in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. Again, I don't want to reiterate what Andrea said, but 65 units, 100% affordable in perpetuity, obviously an adaptive reuse of a historic school, in accordance with historic standards. And by the way, we already have our Mass Historic Commission Part 1 and Part 2, and our Federal Department of the Interior Part 1 and Part 2 as well, and have already received an award of Massachusetts state credits from Mass Historic Commission. All environmentally hazardous materials will be remediated, be placed on the tax rolls, and a benefit to the town of Yarmouth is that we're actually going to be moving their ball field to help provide some room, and then building a parking lot for them. Again, we've received a conditional approval of home funds from Barnstable County Home Consortium. We've allowed the town to use the community room periodically for, plays, meetings, Boy Scout meetings, things, anything that makes reasonable sense and is compatible with the residents that will be residing there. We've agreed to pay the town half of their insurance costs during this process to help relieve them of that burden. We have the support of the town of Yarmouth. We can't move forward without it, frankly, and the other political figures, state senator and state rep. And again, it's a quintessential public-private partnership. It's private money being utilized with public funds issued by DHCD. So those are the things that I have to say. Any questions of me on that?
Do we have any questions from, yes, Elizabeth?
What I was questioning was on page 19 of our report on AHF 4, it said that only 40 of the units met the DHCD LIP guidelines and would be accepted. So I'm just curious, because I know if Yarmouth is like Brewster, we have our list of affordable housing, which is much higher than what DHCD shows as our percentage towards the 10% that we're all working for. And it's because DHCD doesn't necessarily accept everything that the towns have on their books as affordable.
I see. I'm not familiar.
That's what I'm curious about, is if they're going to get 65 or 40, because 25 units is a lot of units.
I'm quite confident that they'll get 65. I'm not familiar with this 40 figure. And maybe I should be, but can I read it?
It says here, unit sizes vary. However, all of the studio units, 27 of the one-bedroom and 9 of the two-bedroom meet DHCD lip size guidelines. That's what I was curious about.
Where is the 40 here?
She's adding.
Second paragraph.
Oh. 37 ones, 24 twos. So what we have, that's a typo. We have, how many studios? What's the unit mix?
4.
We have 4, 37, and 24. That's 41. That adds up to 65. Is that what you're referring to?
No, it says below that the DHCD only agrees that 40 of them are within their size guidelines, which I was curious about.
Oh, I see. So what that is saying is that, DHCD has guidelines for the size of the units, okay? For instance, one bedrooms, they like to see them 750 square feet, okay? What this is saying is that because of the constraints of the rehabilitation of the school itself, that some of the unit sizes won't meet their guidelines, but that will not prevent those units from being counted as affordable and in fact be affordable. And again, we have, every one of our projects has some units which don't necessarily meet the 900 square foot 2-bedroom requirement, the 750 1-bedroom requirement. So that's all that is saying. And that happens in every one of our projects. So I'm certain that all 65 units will count toward the affordable unit count in the town of Yarmouth. Absolutely.
Are there any other questions of the applicant? All right, thank you.
Would you like to hear from our architect and or engineer on further details about the property, or are you all set?
Is there more to your presentation?
Well, there is, but some of it will be redundant, but you could hear the architectural view if you wish. I mean, yes, we had prepared it for that, but that's your call.
Yeah, let's hear the architectural comments.
My name is Michael Gardenier. I'm from Icon Architecture. I've worked with Stratford Capital Group for a number of years now on all of the projects that we've done. Very quickly, we can walk through just some images of some final products that we've done. This is the Brown School. Again, it's a historic renovation of an existing school with a separate building addition off the back. Done in accordance with Mass Historic and the National Park Service. We'll just go through these quick. Rich, next. This is the Fulton School in Weymouth. This has an addition that's attached to the building, so we had to work with Mass Historic and National Park Service for the aesthetics of that. That's this section here, so the addition. So working with windows, colors, bricks, mortar joints, all of that. This had custom historic windows that matched wood ones that we took out for energy efficiency and unit comfort. The right images are some of the historic woodworking that's kept in the hallways. The lower right picture is actually a unit, so that was a classroom. So that gets back to the DHCD piece. What Historic likes to do, as do we, is take a classroom and make that a unit. Depending on when the school was built, classroom sizes were different. So sometimes you will get a unit that's slightly below a DHCD requirement.
Not a requirement.
I'm sorry, guideline. But the units are very nice units. School Street, this had no addition. This was 50 units, all within the existing school building. Again, the lower right slide shows the main historic stair. We work with the MAAB and BBRS here in the state to make the historic stairs as code-compliant as possible, new handrails, all those pieces and parts. So we do that in all of those. That's one of the things we would do here as well. Again, these are some of the interiors. Those that have been to the interior of the school have seen its condition. Since it is a gut rehab down to studs, we're able to fully insulate, new drywall. We replace the historic trim where possible. So in units, there's wainscot or scotia molding and whatnot, so we can keep the historic fabric intact within a unit. This is just some of Icon's work, some of the other projects I've worked on at the office. These are in the urban environment, but what they do is, the analysis that we go through for additions. This is a Dartmouth Hotel in Dudley Square. This is actually an addition. The same analysis we do here, we did while doing the addition here. So all the character of Yarmouth, where the school is, we worked to make sure that it was in keeping with the surrounding. The energy component, this is a project, Olmsted Green. These may look like traditional New England homes, but these are actually highly insulated fiberglass window. It's not wood siding, it's actually cementitious siding. So it's a very high efficiency envelope, but we can still have it look like a traditional New England architecture. Again, some other projects, Washington Beach on the left. Again, that's actually a reuse we tore down the old buildings and reused the foundations. So we were able to create, again, new housing, reusing not the whole structure, but part of the structure. The project in the middle was an Energy Star Builder Achievement Award. That's Eggleston Crossing, that's also in Boston. So we worked with Energy Star hand in hand to get that done, as we will here for the new construction. Quickly going through the site plan, this is the existing building. This is the addition, Old Main, the ball fields. This is the other section of ball fields here. This is the new parking that's being created by Stratford for town ball fields. That is seasonal parking. So that's the area where they talked about the permeable pavement. That's where that section will be. The two existing drive aisles will stay. Go to the next slide. Yep. And just quickly, this would be the ground floor plan. Basically, this is the existing auditorium, which will remain. That's the community room that we talked about being used off and on by the town. Then you get into the brick portion of the building. Essentially, when you see a unit, that's what's a classroom now. So the classroom becomes a unit. Partition walls remain, hallway walls remain, and the units are fit into the existing fabric. When you come around to the side, this is actually the current gym. The gym will be broken up into some one-bedroom loft areas. And then when you get through to the back, that's where the addition starts. The footprint of the addition with the ins and outs was done to help break down the massing of the building and be in accordance with the Cape Cod Commission guidelines. This is a rendering from the Bass River shoe repair, looking at the front of the existing school. What we've done here is this is all existing. When you do get to the end, it's a 2-story mass, which then transitions to a 3-story mass to help break down the massing from Old Main, and then it wraps around to the back. So it wraps around the corner. Again, 2-story volumes, 3-story volumes, change in materials, window types. When you get towards the main axis of the existing school, we actually have a pass-through with a second community room for the tenants. If the main auditorium space is being used, there's a secondary space. But this pass-through actually is to help strengthen the axial quality of the existing building. So.
The last one.
And then
Yeah, you saw these.
this is going into more of the civil piece if you have any questions about that.
Sure.
Yeah, I was just curious how the building's going to be wired as far as internet and conductivity and all that connection.
Sure. DHCD actually is a requirement for Cat 5.
You'll have to come to the microphone.
I apologize. DHCD, one of their requirements is for Cat 5 wiring for all the units. So all the units will have that wiring. Stratford works with whatever utility companies, whether it's cable, TV, phone, is in the area to make sure that all the units have what's available.
Mr. Chairman. Hi, my name is Don Rose, Kohler and Colantonio. Oh, sorry.
Are there any outdoor recreation areas included in your plan?
If you want to go back one slide, Rich. One more. One more. Yeah. To the plan. This is the existing school. Basically, this courtyard will be kept for the tenants. There'll be grassed areas and all of that. But right next door with the fields and whatnot, being able for the tenants to go and use that for a walking area or whatnot allows us to have a conversation back and forth, so.
And also, if there's a desire on the part of the tenants to have exercise equipment, we would include that in the second community room as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just to follow up on that question, is there space for community garden?
What we typically do is we put in raised gardening areas. So we will build raised gardening areas that are about 3 feet off the ground, so it's easier for residents to plant things there. We just completed those in the Weymouth project, and they're extremely popular.
Are there any other questions or comments at this point? Joy?
I think this is a wonderful use of an old school, and when you look at the pictures of the existing school now, it could have been used as a setting for The Shining or something. It's in such a deplorable state, and I think it's good that the town of Yarmouth has a purpose for it, because if it got any more dilapidated, I think Yarmouth would have some problems. And I was impressed by the size of the units. I think that they are quite large, considering, and to have 65 units is wonderful for the town and for Cape Cod, and I applaud your design.
Well, you're applauding Michael for that.
Yeah. Okay, now let's get on with the second half of the...
Go ahead, Don.
Architectural demonstration.
As I said, I'm Donald Rose from Kohler and Colantonio. We're the engineers, the site design engineers. What you see here is the existing site with the buildings that are going to remain, parking in the back with some tree growth, but very minimal. Most of the front, as been described in the submission, this is going to remain, that landscaping. It will be required that a tank in this corner of the building will be remediated per the 21E. Can you go to the next one? So the site is 4.1 acres, as it's been described before. The addition is 14,000 square feet. What we've designed is 98 parking spaces, and going back and forth with the Cape Cod Commission, they had requested the minimum amount of parking. Before, we had a little bit more parking to accommodate additional fields over on this side. We removed that just so that we had 98 parking spaces as per required by the unit count. The 66 was never, that's how it was designed in the first place. That parking, the 66 will be pervious. We haven't decided on a surface yet, but it will be a pervious surface. In the calculations that we are going to provide, that is designed as impervious for, in case the surface ever is frozen in the winter, it actually allows for flow into in drainage, proper drainage during frozen conditions. The septic system, as described and sort of as shown here, there's a collection system with pump stations that will deliver up to an Amphitrome enhanced nitrogen removal system. It's accepted by the state. It's used on the Cape. We actually have a project at Chatham Bars Inn that they recently upgraded their septic system with an Amphitrome, added additional capacity to theirs. The system can get greater than, or can reduce nitrogen below the 19 parts per million, but we did the calculation per the Cape Cod regulations, and it showed a significant decrease in the nitrogen to the groundwater table. The drainage system, which is limited to three spots. There's two underground systems, one here and one here, and then in here there's depressions, which are swales to that the runoff from the pervious surface will drain to, and from the fields, because the fields actually slope towards the building. Those underground systems will be designed in accordance with DP's stormwater regulations. A report stating that, and with the backup will be provided to the Cape Cod Commission as they requested. We also, in discussions with the Cape Cod Commission, have agreed to use bioinfiltration filter trees within the parking lot where we can. And the last part is landscaping. We are not changing the landscaping of the front because of its historic nature. The landscaping is going to be minimal. It's going to be drought resistant, and we will have an enhanced landscaping plan to provide to the Cape Cod Commission. The minimal landscaping is just that we provide one tree of 3-inch caliper for every 8 cars as per the zoning regulations in Yarmouth. And that's it, sir. Are there any questions?
I don't see any. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're going to ask for comments from public officials, federal, state, local officials. Please identify yourself.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Robert Lawton. I'm the former town administrator in Yarmouth, but was intimately involved with this project. And also, I'm still the chairman of the Affordable Housing Trust in town. 3 members of the Board of Selectmen are in attendance today and are supportive of the project. Chairman Eric Tolley, Suzanne McAuliffe, and Curtis Sears. The town has been working on this project for a number of years. We went through 2 or 3 iterations of how we were going to rehabilitate the structure and settled upon the RFP done by Stratford Capital Group. We believe it is a strong project of community benefit, with the 65 units also back on the tax rolls is not a bad thing, certainly for the town. And it does preserve this building, which we were having very many troubles in figuring out how to reuse it successfully. So we would urge the committee, the commission, to approve this project and allow it to go forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other public officials that would like to speak? Seeing none, we'll go on to public comment. Any members of the public who would like to speak at this time? Yes, just go right up to the microphone. Identify yourself and speak.
Yes, sir. Peter Cooper, 122 Old Main Street, an immediate abutter on the west of their property. I don't know who to address this to, but I would like to know what activities take place in the wastewater treatment building, please.
I'll answer that.
Okay.
In the
Identify yourself, please.
Donald Rose, Antonio. The wastewater treatment building is going to have blowers, and there will be some chemical storage. Typically, there is a brick portion of the building, which is for a hazardous, well, I shouldn't say hazardous, I should say a chemical of concern. It has a sump so that if there were a spill, it's retained in that, but it's blowers to provide air for the treatment system, a control panel to control all of the pumps and the blowers and all of that. There will, and that's it.
Will any odors be given off from this building?
The building will actually have an odor control unit within it, which will service all of the tanks to reduce any odors. We also include the design of hatches which try to prevent any release of odors. That's part of it. So the odors, the project, the Stratford Capital doesn't want a wastewater system that is impacting the people who are staying there, so they don't want you, who are just going to be just as close, to not want to impact you either.
Does the law specify any minimum distance that building has to be from an abutting property line? And has that law been complied with?
It's a local bylaw.
Is there anyone present who could answer what the minimum sighting distance is between that building and a butter's property line?
My understanding is 30 feet.
30 feet.
Yes. Is that it?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public? Any other comments or questions from members of the commission at this point? I would ask the chairman of the subcommittee if he would be willing to offer a motion to close the hearing and the record. Is it been moved? Has it been seconded? It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Now we will have a discussion of the draft decision by members of the commission. I think Joy had something to say in this regard. Thank you. Yeah. Are there any other members of the commission who would like to discuss this further?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, as the Yarmouth representative, I'd just like to say that I think that this is a big boon for the town of Yarmouth. It's a win-win situation all around as far as affordable housing, placing it back on the tax rolls. And I have to say that in my recollection, I think the town has had 3 committees in the 5 years that the building has been vacant to try and find a use for it. And I think that this is the best possible use. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vigilio.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to thank the staff, as usual, for their knowledge and their helping the committee through the process, and the developer who seems to have all the knowledge you need to have to develop this project, as well as the town fathers and what they've done for this project too. But I think this is a fantastic project, and I hope that other towns can learn something from it.
Any other comments, questions? Michael?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me echo those sentiments. I think in working with the applicant here, it's actually been very inspiring to see an adaptive reuse and recycling of a historic property like this. We struggle with this in Bourne. We have buildings like this that we look at and say, how can we adaptively reuse those and not lose that piece of community character? I think you've done an admirable job in addressing not only the need for housing here on the Cape, but in doing so in a tasteful and historically accurate way that protects the community, does bring a benefit to the community. It could have served as a blight on the community if left untended. So I think this is a real benefit for the town and for the Cape in general. Every condition that we have put on you, for the most part, I think you met us with real enthusiasm in trying to comply with all of our obligations and all the conditions we put upon you. So I really admire the spirit that you've come at this, and I think it's going to be a benefit to the area. Just out of curiosity, where did we decide to relocate the osprey nest to?
Yeah, one of the final things that came up during the subcommittee meeting was that at the top of the cupola, there's an osprey nest that has been removed, I think at least once, maybe twice, and of course the ospreys just come back and rebuild it. We are planning on approaching the individual that has, there's actually a weather vane, the old weather vane that used to be on top of the cupola. We're going to locate and hopefully reinstall. And actually what we think is probably going to happen is that they're probably just going to return and nest around it. It remains to be seen, but actually we've also committed to, we're glad to build a platform tower near the ball fields and see if they'll nest there. I mean, that's short money. That was something we could do. I think it'd be exciting actually to see if they would do that. So we're not sure what's going to happen, but we're going to put the weather vane back up as long as we get permission to, and from local zoning codes and whoever, what was it, Searles that currently has it. So we'll see, but we have committed to build a platform, but they're probably pretty fickle about where they nest. So
you're proposing a 66 unit?
Exactly. Although they won't be rent paying.
Thank you for humoring us.
Okay. All right. I think that this has had a full discussion, and I think we'll move on. And I'm going to ask Jack McCormick, the representative from Yarmouth, to move the approval of this. You have the motion, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to approve the Simpkins School redevelopment project located at 134 Old Main Street, South Yarmouth, Mass. as a hardship exemption / project of community benefit.
Second?
Yes, is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? It's unanimous vote, and thank you all very much.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Yes, we aren't finished yet. Okay. Now, Mr. McCormick, if we could have the second motion.
One more motion. I move to approve the January 6, 2011 Simpkins School hardship exemption / project of community benefit decision as presented.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on this motion? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Another unanimous vote. And thank you all very much. It was a good presentation, nice project.
Thank you.